Drawing leather tooling patterns is not some wild artistic event that just magically happens. Every pattern that I draw, every one I've put in all of my books, comes down to a very basic set of rules and guidelines to follow that help structure every pattern that I draw. So if you're ready to start, I want to show you how to get going. Let's take a look. When we look at any pattern, one like this here, we have to not just look at the whole pattern, but realize where that starts at. So every pattern is going to break down and start with what I call a basic skeleton. So I want to show you what this looks like in here and how we're going to start that from scratch to make your own pattern. So looking at it with a pin here so we can kind of see this, I want to show you what the basic skeleton is in this. And we're going to turn the page and show you from the beginning how to do that. So when we look at this basic skeleton, there's three things that make up any basic skeleton. There's going to be circles. So we look right here, there's a circle. And then there's going to be connections and curves, right? If we had another circle, we can take this circle here, and then there's a connection to it. So these curves and connections is what starts to make that pattern. Okay, you can kind of see where that baseline is. Now, how do we get there to start with? Let's take a look at that. So, taking a pattern like that, again, we say the base skeleton, what does it start with? It's going to start with circles. Okay, so we're going to make a circle right down here. Now, connections and curves are the next thing. So if we want to have this circle here, we're going to have another one. Let's do another circle right here next to that. Now connections. This is what I'm talking about, connections, is when we go from one circle to another. Okay, that's going to be the connection. When we lay out this basic skeleton, that's when we're going to determine our flow. Now you'll hear flow talked about a lot in patterns. And what does that mean? That's two things that's going to talk about, but the number one thing we're looking at is direction something is growing. So if we look at a flower that's sitting here, we're just going to draw a quick little flower here. Okay, we have this flower and it has a stem, some leaves or petals coming off of that. What direction is this flowing? This direction, okay? We're flowing up towards that flower, all right? Let's go back to our skeleton here, now that we've determined that. Okay, so we're gonna decide which way we want this flow going, and right now we're just gonna determine we're gonna go this way here. We're gonna go counterclockwise. So we'll draw these little arrows just to remind us. Flow is going to come this way. And then say we want another curve up here. And we don't just want this little pattern here. We're going to make a corner piece out of it. So we're going to go this other direction. Now, this circle's heading this direction, so we're going to curve off of that. Follow that around, and then we have some more space here I want to fill, so I'm going to, again, this direction is flowing here, so we're going to curve off of this. So that's another one of those little rules and guidelines. I have lots of them that I follow. It just makes it easy to lay this stuff out. But if a circle's going one direction if you're going to branch off of that, it's going to start going the other direction, right? So if this is going this way, if we're going to veer off of that, just think about driving down the road. The circles, we're driving around here. If we're going to turn to the left off of that, we're just turning this direction so that flow is going there. Okay? Laying that skeleton out is that first step to any pattern. Just like we broke this pattern down to see that skeleton, we could go through any of the patterns in any of these books and break it down just the same. We could take, let's take this pattern right here. This flow is coming from here. We have a circle coming around this direction, and a curve coming up around this direction. Those are that's the main skeleton in there. And then we go to our next steps. This one here, let's look at this. We have a curve around here. It branches off up here. So all these patterns can be broke down like that. After we have our main skeleton drawn out here, then we're going to go to our next steps, right? We've determined that flow in drawing our skeleton. Now the next steps, we're going to add space fillers. What are space fillers? Space fillers are going to be your flowers, your leaves, your stumps, different things like that, seed pods. We're going to fill those in. So I'm going to use one space filler here. We're going to use another space filler right here. Put a space filler out on the end of this one. A space filler in here. Now there's rules and guidelines that we follow with those space fillers. I don't want to dive in too deep on that right now, but just to show the overall idea of what we're doing here. So if this is our flower that we'd do, that's filling this space. And then we have this space filler in here. And we're going to make this one a little swirl around here. I can't remember if this is exactly what we did on the one on the previous page, but it's going to start getting the idea anyhow. And then this one, let's put this leaf in here. And down here, let's put this kind of stump thing. Okay, so you can see that our space fillers now just go and start filling in that skeleton. Then our last step from there is our vine work. Your vine work, that's going to be connecting your space fillers, helps balance your pattern out, creating your background spaces and evening that out. And all of these little steps are guidelines that help, they come together to just help structure how we lay these patterns out. Now it's not going to be something that you learn overnight, right? It takes practice. But if you're ready to dive in, this makes sense, and you want to learn more about structuring your patterns and how to follow these simple guidelines, I want to invite you to the Pencil to Pattern Challenge. There'll be a link in the description for the next challenge coming up. And what is the Pencil to Pattern Challenge? This is going to be a 4-day online experience. Now it's broken into 4 daily sessions. We hold those sessions in the evenings to fit around everybody's schedule. But it's a group learning environment where you're going to learn through live videos and guided practice sheets that walk you through these different rules and fundamentals. Anything you learn, it's going to take practice, but practice is much better if you know what and how to practice that. So check out that link in the description. I can't wait to see you in the Pencil to Pattern Challenge and take your drawing to the next step and start creating your own patterns. And hopefully you can experience the freedom that comes with being able to draw your own patterns. You know, the first thing when you learn these rules, you're going to be able to tweak certain patterns that you already have and fit those together in new spots and meld them together and make new patterns out of the ones that you may already have. And then your next step is that full freedom of being able to create completely from square one a truly custom, one-of-a-kind pattern. You're going to save time and money not having to try to find a pattern to fit your project. I mean, if you want to skip the drawing step and buy patterns, that's fine. I have plenty of patterns available for you in the books and pattern packs on the website. Happy to sell patterns, but if you're ready to get the freedom and start drawing your own, I want to help you do that. Can't wait to see you in the Pencil to Pattern Challenge.